first Sunday of the year. Yep, so that's good to see. And there's a lot of new faces as well, which is great. A lot of similar faces from the last course we did, Japji Sahib course. Last year, that ran from, I think that was January the 1st, all the way to the end of the year, like December the 12th or 17th or something it was. So with that course being so successful and loads of people taking something away from it, that was based on Japji Sahib the first Sikh prayer that comes in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj Ji, and a lot of people were able to connect with Guru Sahib Ji's Bani. Before that, now let's move on to the Guru's Itihas, the Guru's history. Right, and with that, we thought we'll do for the next year now, Ardaas. So I won't go into what is Ardaas, because then that's what the talk is today by Manpreet Singh. But this course will be running till the end of the year, so it's about 40 weeks in total. You've all heard the Ardaas before, the formal Ardaas that we hear downstairs. You know, Pritham Bhagauti Simrak Guru Nanak Laiti Aaye, Panj Pyare, Char Sahibzade, Deg Deg Fateh, Sikhanu, Sikhi Dan, all these terminologies you might hear about. But what do they all mean? Right? So what we've done, just very simply, so you have an idea of what the course is. The first week is on what is Ardaas, which Manpreet Singh will go through. Next week is focusing on the start of the Ardaas. You could say the Mangala Charan, the invocation. Ik Oankar Sri WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh, Sri Bhagauti Ji Sahai, Var Sri Bhagauti Ji Ki Paat Sai Dasvi. What does that mean? Who is Guru Sahib Ji speaking to or speaking about? Then for the next 10 weeks after that, we'll go through the 10 Gurus in summary. Right? And then after that, we'll go through Guru Granth Sahib Ji, you know, Dasa Paatshah Ne Jot, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Then after them, 1 week on Panj Pyare, then 1 week on Char Sahibzade, 1 week on Chali Mukte, Hattiya, Jappiya, Tappiya, Jinnah ne Naam Jappiya, Vand ke Shakna, you know, Band Kataye, Khopriya Lohaya. So, you know, who was by Taru Singh Ji, who was by Mani Singh Ji, and we've got 5 speakers, 5 great speakers. We've got Manpreet Singh, who's this week. Next week is Meherinder Singh. Then afterwards we have Alamjit Kaur, we've got Simran Kaur, and also we've got Amandeep Singh as well from East London. So those are 5 speakers. But then also we got guest speakers. So hopefully we'll get people like Pai Man Singh down. It'd be great to have that. Even Bibi Gurpreet Kaur if she's ever in the UK. Anybody else they can think of by Amanpreet Singh from Slough. It'd be nice to have him down. So we have some guest speakers as well throughout the year. So I'll stop talking there because I can talk for a long time. I spoke for an hour downstairs. I won't take any more time. But thank you so much. Please do stay till the end. We might do some Kirtan at the end again if enough people stay. And then we'll do a shorty Ardaas. Because we're doing Ardaas today. Then we do Ardaas at the end. Yeah, that was a joke. All right, and then we'll finish off. So thank you so much. I'll pass over to Manpreet Singh. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh.
WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. So welcome everyone to the basics of the Ardaas. Thank you all for coming. It's good to see so many people here. So we'll be going through the Ardaas week by week, bit by bit, just like we did with the Japji Sahib course. And when it came to researching for Japji Sahib, it was very difficult. I'm sure the other speakers would agree with me, because Gurbani, the message of Gurbani is so, it keeps on going. It's very hard for us to actually draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, like this is it, I have to stop here. It's very hard to fit everything into like a half-hour, 40-minute talk. So when I found out that we were doing the Ardaas, I was kind of relieved, I'm not going to lie, because I was like, okay, I saw the Ardaas as being like a separate thing from Gurbani. So I thought there's no way Ardaas can be that deep. Now, Maharaj's Kirpa, I've been blessed to just research the overarching themes of the Ardaas. We're not even going to go into the detail today, but I tell you, it's so deep, it's blown my mind. And hopefully by the end of today's talk, you'll see what I mean. So ironically, where I thought maybe my job was getting a bit easier, it's actually just as hard. Maharaj Kirpa Karan. The last point I want to make before we start is this isn't us teaching anyone anything. Us as speakers, we can't teach you, the collective Sadh Sangat. You know all of the answers. You have the answers. You know everything. Guru Sahib knows everything. So the only people that are here to learn is actually us as speakers. And you guys are checking that, yes, you're right, or no, you're not. So I want to encourage you guys to get involved, because a lot of the times last year, people got involved and they shared stories about what inspired them. And it was really nice for everyone to share. So that's just something I want to keep going into this year. So please, if throughout the talk, anything I say, you can either relate to, or maybe you see it in like a slightly different way, like feel free to just get involved and let us know about it. Like, we're all one. This is a non-judgmental environment. There's only one idiot here. He's on the mic, so don't worry about it. So yeah, at the end, if you do want to do a bit of a jard, if you don't have any questions and you just want to do a bit of a jard, then by all means, get involved. So without further ado, then we'll start the talk, and we'll start it with a Mool Mantar. So let's do this together, Ji. Ik oankar Satnam Karta Purkh Nirpau Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sapang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach Nanak Hosi Pi Sach Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach Nanak Hosi Pi Sach. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. So we're going to start with Sakhi about someone called Dodi. And Dodi is a young village woman, very simple. She's married to a farmer. And Dodi isn't very well off. They're quite poor. They only scrape by from time to time. Very simple. And what happens is, Dodi's walking along with a pot of milk one day, and what happens to her makes her literally put the pot of milk down and just sit. What she's experiencing is a noise. And it's so beautiful that she can't help but just sit and take it in. Now, what she's hearing isn't the noise of the river flowing next to her. It's not the noise of the jungle in the background. She can hear singing, and she can hear music just off into the distance. She can barely make out what's being sung. It's that far away, but it's so beautiful that Dodi can't even move. She's being hit from inside by this music. It's so beautiful. She thinks to herself that all my life I've heard so many songs. I've heard songs in my village that they sing throughout the years at different times of the year. I've heard songs about marriage, about love and family. But she's never heard music like this. It's like it's from another world. She just sits and she enjoys it. And then eventually when it finishes, she plucks up the courage to go and find out where this music's coming from. So she goes all the way around the river, and she comes upon a man sat with a rabab on his lap. And she asked the man, she goes, "Excuse me, who are you?" And the man, by Mardanaji, he turns to her and he says, "I'm just a servant. I'm just a Jan. I'm just a Das. I'm just a servant. That's all I am." And she says, I don't think you're from this world, are you?" And he says, "Why do you say that?" She says, "For 3 days, I've been walking along this river and I've heard you guys singing. But I've never seen smoke from a fire. I've never heard you guys sing from another place. You've stayed in that place. You haven't moved. So what have you guys been eating? What have you guys been drinking?" Bhai Mardanaji says, "This music you're listening to, what we've been singing, is called Kirtan. These words, it's Gurbani." And he said, "This is all we've been eating for the last 3 days. That's it." And she goes, "Oh, that's a shame. I was going to give you some milk." And Mardanaji goes, no. "Please, give us some milk." You know, Bhai Mardanaji, they were always very hungry, always very thirsty. He goes, no, we'll still take your milk. That's fine. But I'm just saying, we've been eating this Kirtan as well. Figure of speech. And Dodi, she gets up and she goes, "Look, this pot of milk, I have to take it back to my husband, but I'll bring you back some more. I'll come back." And before she goes, she says something that shocks Bhai Mardanaji. She turns around and she goes, "You're going to have to forgive me." Bhai Mardanaji's thinking, what? What have I got to forgive you for? You haven't even done anything. Like, what's wrong? What have you done? She goes, when I was a child, I used to hear amazing stories about beings from other worlds. You know, like these heavenly beings that are so beautiful, and they just live with so much love. She goes, these stories I was told as a kid, but I never saw those qualities in another human being. I was told these stories as a kid, but I've never seen those qualities in a human being until now, until I've spoken to you, Bhai Mardana ji. She says, I'm not educated. I don't know how to read. I don't know how to write. She says, I'm quite young. What's more, she says, I've never even left my village. She says, I don't know about the outside world. So what I'm asking for forgiveness for is when I bring that milk, that I'm going to make mistakes when bringing you milk. So I'm asking you for forgiveness now. Bhai Mardana ji bursts into tears. Can't believe what he's just heard. How much humility must someone have to ask for forgiveness for an act that they haven't even done yet? They're asking for forgiveness for a mistake that hasn't even occurred. He says to Dodi, he goes, look, when you come back with milk, I'll introduce you to someone who really is from another world. Just bring the milk, come back. So Dodi, she goes home, comes back with a pot of milk, and right off in the distance, she just sees this beautiful glow coming from Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And as she's getting closer and closer, she can't help, but she's just so fixed on Guru Nanak Dev Ji. She doesn't even care what's happening with the milk in her hand, whether it's spilling, whether she's stepping on sharp rocks or anything. She just can't take her eyes off Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They're so beautiful, they're so glowing. And when she gets closer, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, oh my daughter, what have you brought? And she says, look, you guys must be hungry. I've brought you some milk at least for you to drink. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, we're not the ones that are hungry. You drink the milk because you're hungry. And she says, no, I'm not hungry. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, yes, you are hungry. You're hungry for a child. And you're hungry for wealth, for money. So the story is that Dodi was married for 7 years. And her and her husband hadn't been able to conceive a child. They were really poor. Now, on hearing this, Dodi says, look, you're right. I did want a child. And I did want wealth. But this music, this Kirtan that I've heard now, that's all I want. This feeling, this fuzzy feeling, this love I'm feeling inside me, I just want that. I'm not worried about not having a child anymore. I'm not worried about scraping by financially. She goes, I just want this feeling. Let me not forget it. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is so impressed, they bless Dodi. And they give her a new name. They call her Doi Rani. Rani meaning queen. Right? So look at this. Such an innocent village woman, right? Uneducated. To the outside world, very simple, very insignificant, you could say. But in the eyes of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, someone like that, someone with that level of humility, they're a queen, they're royalty in the eyes of our Guru. Right? They call her Doi Rani from that day onwards. Now, what happens is, Doi Rani, she goes home, back to her farm, and as she's working on her farm, everyone realizes that Doi Rani is now really happy all of a sudden. She was sad before, but now she's buzzing. She's doing the exact... So Dodi hears from the townspeople, they say, look, we don't know for sure, but your missus is going into the jungle with a pot of milk. She comes back, she's really happy. We're just saying, like, right, you might want to look into this. So Dodi, he doesn't believe him, but he knows that, yes, my wife is going into the jungle. Let me find out what she's doing, right? So he follows her one day. He follows her to the banks of the river. She sits with 2 men, and they just start singing. And it's so beautiful. Dodi is somewhere in the background. He sat behind a tree. And when he hears this Kirtan, sorry, he was standing, but when he hears this Kirtan, he just sits down. He's so absorbed by what he's hearing. It's unlike anything he's heard before. And he's in complete bliss. And he's only awakened when Guru Nanak Dev Ji sends Doi Rani. They say, go to the back of that tree. Someone sat there. Bring them here to me now. So he's only awakened when his wife's tapping him on the shoulder. She says, come, I want to introduce you to someone. Where I've been going all this time. Now, Dodi, again, like Doi Rani, he's so amazed by just looking at Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Imagine how beautiful their face is, right? So Doda can't even speak. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, "Oh my son, ask for something. I'll give it to you. Ask for something. Anything, I'll give it to you. I'll make it yours." Like that. And Doda, he's so starstruck. He literally can't, he's just mumbling. He can't say anything. So they leave. They go back home. When Doda gets his voice back, when he finally comes to his senses, he's speaking to his wife now. He says to his wife, "Wow, that person, that Guru Nanak, they were amazing." And Doi Rani says, "Yeah, tell me about it." He says, "But they said I could ask for something, anything, and they'd give it." And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm going to take him up on that offer. Next time we go tomorrow, I'm going to take the milk and I'm going to request what it is I want." So she asks her husband, she says, "Look, so what do you want?" And Doda, he goes, "Well, I want a child and we need money, right, to survive." She goes, "Don't be such an idiot." She goes, "Just ask for that feeling that you had when we were singing Kirtan, or just ask for that. Don't ask for anything worldly." She goes, "Don't you understand? All of these worldly things, children, wealth, it's just going to stay here. It's not going to go with you when you die, but that love inside you, that Kirtan, that Naam, that's going to stay with you. Ask for that." He thinks about it. He looks at her. He says, "No way, man." He goes, "I want money and I want a child." So off they go. He takes the milk now to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. He takes the milk, he bows at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's feet. He says, "Oh Maharaj, I've got a request." He says, "All I want is wealth and a child. Please, Maharaj. You said you'll give me anything." Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, "Are you sure?" He says, "Yes, definitely." Guru Nanak Dev Ji asked 2 times, they asked 3 times. Doi Rani's at the back going like this, "No, don't ask for wealth." He says, "You know what? I definitely want wealth and I definitely want a child. But if you want to bless me with Naam, then let that come after. Let me just have a child and wealth first." Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, "Fine, it's done. You're going to have a child, you're going to come into money, you're going to be wealthy. And because you're going to do Sangat of a Bhagat, because you're going to be in the company of someone who meditates, Doi Rani, you're going to be blessed with Naam anyway. You're going to be blessed with that anyway." And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says something, they said, "Be very careful, because when you ask for something worldly, people then ask to be able to escape from those worldly things." He says, "Are you sure you just want a child? Are you sure you just want wealth?" He goes, "Yeah, that's it." So Maharaj blessed them. And what happened was they were blessed with those things. People of the town started going to Guru Nanak Dev Ji and asking for things, and their requests came true. Maharaj blessed everyone in the town. So the people of the town, they used to go to Hindu sadhus and Muslim faqirs, but then they left them all. They came to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They said, "That's not working," but Guru Nanak Dev Ji, in one click, they're doing everything for us. And what happened was, so many people went to see Guru Nanak Dev Ji at this time that Doda actually started building shelters for them, because the queues were so long to see Guru Nanak Dev Ji, as you can imagine. They started building shelters for them in the jungle. And those shelters actually went on to become Kartarpur, this city of God that Guru Nanak Dev Ji established. So that's the origins of Kartarpur, which is, if you don't know, it's like Guru Nanak Dev Ji's HQ. It's like their hub, their base. And it all started from this innocent couple who showed so much humility. So just to give you an idea of where Kartarpur is, or the Kartarpur founded by Guru Nanak Dev Ji anyway, the black line going through this image is the Pakistan and India border. So it's actually on the Pakistan side of the border. And what was interesting is, when I was on maps and I zoomed in a little, just above Kartarpur, there's a little town called Doda. I thought that was really cool. Okay, so we're going to get into the Ardaas, and we're going to see how that Sakhi relates to the Ardaas. So the word Ardaas comes from 2 words. Ars, meaning humble request, and Das, meaning servant. So it's a request from one party to another party. One party that has, and one party that has not. And Maharaj is telling us how to do the Ardaas. So within the word Ardaas, they're telling us how to do it from the position of a servant. So if we look at the first word, Ars, a humble request. So humility is such a key ingredient in doing this Ardaas. And Doi Rani was literally the embodiment of that humility, right? She admitted that she didn't know much. She admitted that she wasn't educated. She apologized before she had even done anything, right? That's the levels that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is looking for when someone does an Ardaas. She had an opportunity to ask for worldly things, but she didn't. And the second word is das, so servant. So both of them were servants of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They brought Guru Nanak Dev Ji milk. They built shelters for the Sangat that went on to become Kartarpur. So it's such a simple Sakhi, right? But it says so much. That's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? Such a simple Sakhi, but it says so much. Try saying that 5 times, right? So, but it is a very simple Sakhi, but I just feel like it encapsulates what it means to do an Ardaas. So even if we look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's words, right? Here they say, Tu dariyao dana bina, main machli kaise ant laha. They say, you know everything, right? I'm just a machli, I'm just a fish. Kaise ant laha. How can I know the limits of you, WhyGuru Ji? How can a fish know where the ocean ends and where it starts? Right? They go on to say, Jeh jeh dekha teh teh tu hai. Tujhte niksi food mara. Wherever I look, all I see is you. Just like how a fish looks around and just sees water, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is talking about someone who looks around and they can only see the one. In everything, in every person, everything, in every atom, they just see the one. If I was outside of you, if I was away from you, food mara, I'd explode, I'd die. Maharaj go on to say, Na jana meo, na jana jali. I don't know the fisherman and I don't know the net. So my first question to you guys is, what do you think Guru Nanak Dev Ji is talking about here? Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, I'm like a fish. I don't know where you start or end. You're like the ocean. But I don't know of the fisherman and I don't know of the jali. I don't know of the net. What do you guys think Guru Nanak Dev Ji is talking about here? Hanji, Darshan. Hanji, perfect. So Darshan says that the fisherman is death. And the jali, this net, is maya. It's an illusion. So a question back to you, Darshan, if you don't mind. What does that mean then for us? If we're looking at maya being a net and then the fisherman being death, what does that mean for us, do you think? WhyGuru. So Darshan says, as long as you're in maya, then you're subject to death. It's actually when you come out of this illusion that you can't be killed. So if you're free from, all of these things, like if we just look at, if I asked you why we don't do as much bart, if someone asked me that, I'll say, look, I'm really busy, I've got work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But everything I would list is a worldly thing. It's like a net, and it feels like a net, it feels like we're trapped. So to be free from that is really what we want. And unless we're free, we're always going to be subject to death. We're always going to be scared of death. Why? Because death scares me because I would lose all of these worldly possessions. I'd be without these people, right? So as long as I'm attached, as long as I'm in that jali, I'm literally stuck. So that's what Maharaj is talking about here. Ja dukh lage ta tujhe samali raha. So they say, when I'm in pain, I call out to you. Maharaj goes on to say, Jeta dehi, teta ho khao. So whatever you give me, that's what I eat. And this is really interesting when it comes to an Ardaas. When we do an Ardaas, we always give something to Maharaj, right? When we come to the Guru Ghar, we might give flour, atta, might give milk, might give money. But Maharaj is saying here, whatever you give me, that's what I eat. So where did it all come from? It came from the one. So what are we actually giving to Guru Sahib? We're only returning what they've blessed us to have in the first place, right? They blessed Doi Rani to have milk in the first place, right? So we're literally just giving back what they've given us. And then Maharaj goes on to say, Biya dar nahi ke dar jao, that there is no other door. What other door can I go to? Who else could fulfill that ardas of Doi Rani? For Naam, for a child, for wealth. Who else could do that? Only Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So everyone left those sadhus, everyone left those Muslim fakirs. Everyone came to Guru Nanak Dev Ji's door. They're the only ones that can give us all of this. Okay, now we're going to get into the sort of technicalities of the Ardaas. Now, does anyone know where the Ardaas was formalized? Or when? Or by who? Does anyone want to have a guess maybe? This Ardaas that we do, who put it into the order that it's in? Who formalized it? Or when was it done? Any guesses? No? So it was actually done in the 1930s by the SGPC, right? And when they formed the Akal Takht Ret Maryada, which is a code of conduct from the Akal Takht, they formalized this Ardaas that we do today. So this Ardaas is probably the most common one in the Panth. It's the version that we're going to go through on this course, and it's the one that's done in this Guru Ghar as well. So it is formalized by the SGPC in the 1930s. And the Red Maryada itself, this code of conduct, has a lot of Ardaas in it. So it says that after your morning and evening prayers, a Sikh should do an Ardaas. When Maharaj leaves a place, so when Maharaj goes to Sachkhand, those of you that have been here for the Japji Sahib course, you'll know that we do an Ardaas before Maharaj goes. And then when they reach Sachkhand, there's another Ardaas when they reach there. Whenever we're blessed with a Hukamnama, again, Ardaas, that Maharaj, bless me with a Hukamnama, tell me, before and after a Sehj Part or an Akhand Part, then a naming ceremony, Amrit Sanchars, right? At an Amrit Sanchar, any Amritaris here remember how many Ardasa are done at an Amrit Sanchar? Gagan, I'm coming to you. If no one puts their hands up, you better pray someone puts their hands up. How many Ardasa are done at an Amrit Sanchar? Any guesses? Anyone? Cholo Gagan, put us out of our misery. Yes. Do you know when? 3. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Do you remember when? At what points? Oh no, I'm taking you back. That's a bit out of order. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hanji. And then the third one's at the end. Hanji, yes, that's right. So an Ardaas is done before the Amrit Sanjar starts. Once Amrit has been prepared, another Ardaas is done for Agya, for permission for Guru Sahib, that we're going to actually distribute this now to the Sangha. Give us Agya, bless us, and forgive us for any mistakes we've made in preparing the Amrit. And then right at the end, there's another Ardaas. So in one ceremony, there's 3 Ardasa. At an Anand Garaj, right? The couple stand with the couple's parents, right, for the first Ardaas. Then there's another one at the end when everyone stands up to bless the couple. When we're offering Parchar, funerals, before the body leaves for the funeral ground, before the body's cremated, after the body's cremated. Then the Code of Conduct says that a Sehj Part should start, which has its own Ardaas in there as well. Right? So there's so much. Even when a Sikh asks for forgiveness for a mistake, right? They normally get together with Banj Singhs and do an Ardaas for forgiveness. And then this Code of Conduct, this Red Maryada, says something really interesting. They say, apart from these rites and conventions, on every happy or sad occasion, such as moving into a new house, starting a new business, putting your child into school, etc., a Sikh should pray for God's help by performing the Ardaas. How many of us have laughed when we hear things in the Ardaas and we think, what? I can't believe this person has put that in there. I, for one, I've done that. I've heard people do an Ardaas for like a new car. And they're like, we're doing this Ardaas for a new car. And I'm like, are these guys just showing off or what? But when I read this, it opened my eyes that, look, not only is the Rayat Maryada, the Code of Conduct for a Sikh, telling us that we should do an Ardaas for these things, but if we think about it, at the end of the Ardaas, what do we say? Nanak Naam, Chardi Kala, Tere pane sarbat da pala. That we want good for everyone. So what better way to put that into practice than to stand up with those people that have put their kids into school, that have brought a new car, that have started a new business, that have started a new venture? Why can't we stand with them? Why can't we ask for a blessing with our brothers and sisters? That is sarbat da pala, like literally putting it into practice, isn't it? So the next time you're in an ardas, I know sometimes they could be very long, but think about it this way. Look at the power of, there's probably over 100 people in this room alone. Imagine we do an ardas, all 100 of us together for the same thing. How powerful must that be? Right? Really, for me personally, it made me look at ardas in a very different way when I read this. Even this last sentence here, the essential components of all rites, of all ceremonies in Sikhi is Gurbani and an Ardas. You can't have one without the other, is what it's saying here. That's the importance of an Ardas. So, another point to make is that even in Guru Gobind Singh Ji's 52 hukams, Maharaj says before performing any task, you should do an Ardas. So my question to you guys is, if I'm going to perform a task, let's just say I'm going to drive home tonight, does that mean I have to do a full Ardas? Stand up, do an Ardas, or sat in my car doing a full Ardas? Does that mean I have to do a full Ardas? Or is there another way maybe we can do an Ardas? What do you guys think? Any suggestions? How else can we do an Ardas? Hanji. WhyGuru. So Benji says you can do a short Ardas, or you can even just thank Maharaj, right? You can ask for their blessing before you start your journey. As soon as you get home, before you put the key in the door, thank you, Maharaj, you brought me here. That's it. Just 1 or 2 seconds. That's an Ardas. Now, if we are to do an Ardas before every task, imagine all the tasks we do every day. What Maharaj is trying to get us to do, it actually becomes a form of Simran. It might seem like a lot to think, wow, before I do anything, before I do a talk, before I open my laptop for work in the morning, I've got to do an Ardas, I've got to think about God. But that's what Maharaj wants us to do. That's the whole point, right? This Ardas is actually forming part of our Simran. That before we do anything, after we do anything, whether we receive something or not, we always remember the one. It becomes part of our Simran. So we don't even need words. So when we look at the letters of the Ardas, the letter Ara, we get Antarjami, which is the inner knower. So Maharaj knows what's going on inside us anyway. Just like Guru Nanak Dev Ji says to Doi Rani, you are hungry, right? I'm not hungry, you're the one that's hungry, right? They knew what was in our heart. So Maharaj here says, Kat kat ke antar ki janata, that they know the inner feelings of our heart. They know what we want. That they know what's going on internally between the good and the bad. Right? So we don't necessarily even need words. It can just be a thought. Maharaj, thank you. This garbage happened, thank you. This garbage didn't happen, Maharaj, thank you. It wasn't meant to be. Okay. So that's Ara. Then you get Rara from the Ardas, so Rakya, protector. And one example I just want to touch upon here is Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, whose whole life is just about protection. It's literally just about Rakya. So there's a Sakhi that comes to mind of Makhan Shah Lubana. He was a very powerful, very wealthy merchant. I used to sell a lot of things to the Mughal army, actually. And what happens was Makhan Shah Lubana, he's on his ship, it's full to the brim with all his stock, and it's so heavy that it actually starts to drown. Not only is it sinking, but it's actually getting stuck in like a whirlpool. Makhan Shah Lubana, all of his men are panicking, chucking stuff overboard, nothing's working, trying to lighten the load, nothing's working. Makhan Shah Lubana closes his eyes and he recites Japji Sahib off by heart. And while he's reciting Japji Sahib, he's doing an Ardaas. He doesn't know yet who's on the throne of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. He doesn't know that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is the Guru at this time. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji isn't revealed to the world. But he just thinks to himself, whoever is on the throne of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, I need you now. Please, I need you now. After he does his Japji Sahib, the whole ship turns around and starts moving towards land very slowly. When it gets there, Makkan Shah Lubana finally meets Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. And there was a test with the money. He says, Maharaj, if you save me, I'll give 1/10 of what I earn from all of this stock. I'll give you the money for it. And then when Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, this money you've put before me, that's not 1/10 of all the stock that you sold. That's when Makkan Shah Lubana realized this is the true Guru, because there was loads of frauds there at the time. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji actually showed Makkan Shah Lubana their shoulder, and it was all marked, bruised here on their shoulder. They said, we literally, because of your Ardaas, had to come into the ocean and pick up your boat. I brought your whole ship here myself. So Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji did, just for an Ardaas. Look what Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji did when the Hindu Brahmins done an Ardaas. They said, save us. An Ardaas literally saved a whole faith. Right? This is the level of how powerful one Ardaas is. So that's Rakhavala. Then we get into Data, the giver. So if you think about where our wants come in the Ardaas, where we request something, is right at the end, isn't it? We start off by remembering the One. We start off by remembering the Guru Sahiban, all the great Guru Sikhs that came before us, all the great Gurdwara. And then right at the end, once we remember all of those people that sacrificed so much, all of those people that gave their cease, band katwai, those that were cut piece by piece, right? So what do you think happens by the time we get to the end? Our state of mind is going to be very humbled, isn't it? There we are. We might be asking for something worldly, something that's going to take us away from our Guru. But really, once we listen to the Ardaas, by the time we get to the end, we might actually rethink what we want in the first place. Right? So it's designed in such a way. It's designed to make us into Ardaas by the time we get to the end. So let's look at Bhagat Kabir Ji's Ardaas. They say, Doi Sera Mango Chuna. I want 2 kilos of flour. This is Bhagat Kabir Ji's Ardaas in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. They say, I want ghee and I want salt as well, luna. They go on to say, I want dale and I'll eat this twice a day. And they haven't finished there. They said, I want a bed with 4 legs and I want a pillow and a mattress too. And they're not even finished there. They go on to say, and also, upar ko mango khida, that I want a quilt as well. All of these things Bhagat Kabir Ji's asking for. Now what's special about this particular Shabad is that even though Bhagat Kabir Ji is asking for all of these things and they seem worldly, asking for a bed, asking for food, they're actually just the bare basics. Because what does Bhagat Kabir Ji want to do? They say, Teri Bhagat kare jana thida. That I'm asking just for the basics so I can do your Bhagati. That I can do my part, that I can recite Nam, that I can do Kirtan. I just want what's going to get me by. That's it. Right? So this is all in the Ardaas. Even in Sri Japji Sahib, Maharaj says, Gura ek dehe puchai, sabana jiya ka ek data, so main visna jai. That the Guru, WhyGuru Ji themselves, they're the ones that give us everything. So let me never forget them. So that's Data. And then we get on to Sassa, Saran, sanctuary. So those who came to the basics camp, you know the theme of the camp was all about Saran, right? Satguru Ayo Sarana Tuhari. And it felt like a sanctuary as well. It felt like being on holiday with Guru Sahib. And there's sometimes a conflict within ourselves when it comes to what we do an Ardaas for. What is it we really want? Sometimes there's a conflict because we can get all of these worldly things, right? So we can get a promotion, we can get a job, wealth, a car, anything, all of these desires that are inside us, but it's not really going to make us happy. If you think about it, even if you got like a new car, after 2 or 3 years, there's a new model out. Your license plate isn't as new as it once was. So your happiness is always temporary because it dips down after a while. So we're always in this conflict of what we should ask for, right? But asking for Naam seems so far-fetched sometimes, right? But that's really, and the Sakhi we heard about earlier, that's really what it's all about. It's about identifying that, Maharaj, everything I want in this world, anything worldly is just a net, like Maharaj said earlier, it's just a net. It's not actually going to make me happy. But only Maharaj, only you're going to make me happy. Only that Naam. So it really all just comes back to this, just to finish off. Where Maharaj says, Biya dar nahi ke dar jao. That there is no other door. Right? What other door can I go to? If you think about the power that Maharaj has, if we think about all the Ardasa that probably we all have here in this darbar, or all the Ardaas that people do around the world, right? Everyone that has a desire in their heart, who can manage all of that? Who can manage all of those problems? There's no organization, there's no government, there's no one that can handle all of those problems, all of those wants, all of those needs. Only our Guru Sahib has that power. That's how powerful they are. So who else could give Doi Rani and her husband what they wanted? Who else could save a sinking ship? Who else could save the whole Hindu faith? Right? All of these things are only done by our Guru. So really, it just comes down to the Ardaas isn't just a request. It's not just a request. It's actually us realizing that our Guru's door is really the only one we need. That's really it. That's all it is. So, Sangatji, we've come to the end of the talk. Does anyone have any questions or any vichar of their own before we wrap up? Hanji, Arandeep Singh. Right. WhyGuru. We can't get you a mic, so I'm going to try and repeat what you said just in case people didn't hear. But what Arandeep Singh says here is that throughout the day when we do an Ardaas, it actually changes the decisions we make because we have Maharaj at the forefront of our minds. Is that right, Vijay? Yeah? So that's really nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Hanji, Darshan. So the question is, if you sit in your car and you just say WhyGuru, does that mean that you're asking for protection on your journey? Is that what you're saying? Have I understood that? Okay, so all it comes down to is what's in your heart. Like we said, Maharaj is antarjami. So what is in your heart? What is it that you want? Do you want to get home safe? So even if you say WhyGuru, but that's what's in your heart, you're calling out to WhyGuru and you're saying, Maharaj, please just let us get home safe. Right? Then that's all it is. That is an Ardaas. Does that make sense? So it really comes down to your personal relationship with your Guru. Right? What's in your heart? What is it that you really want? Is that okay? We can try it tonight on the way home when I drop you. Anyone else before we wrap up? Any vichar? Okay, well, the Sevadars are going to hang about at the end, so if you do have any questions, maybe you want to ask in private, then feel free to do so. Thank you all for coming. Like I said, please forgive me for all the mistakes I've made. Like Bhai Sahib says, next week we're going to have Bhai Meharinder Singh doing a talk on Sri Bhagavati Ji Sahai, what it means, why it's in the Ardaas, the significance of it. So please do come down if you want to find out what that means. And yeah, I'll wrap up there. Saad Sangat Ji, let's finish off with the Fateh Ji. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh.
WhyGuru, just before everybody leaves, if you don't mind, don't leave. I will just do Kirtan for 10 minutes. If you don't mind, well, obviously you can go if you want to, but it would be nice if you can all stay just for 10 minutes. The Shabad will have to be on Ardaas as well. So and we'll put it on the screen as well. If you don't mind, just good morning, hotspot yourself. Just 10 minutes and then we'll finish off. Yeah, so just 10 more minutes. And like we said last year, these extra 10 minutes will help you so much in your week for the next how many hours it is. 7 times 24, 154. I think it is. ठीक है? So just 10 minutes ji and then we'll finish off. WhyGuru ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru ji ki Fateh. Please all sing along as well. Right.
जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए गुरु गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर त्याए गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर त्याए जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए गुर गुर जपे गुरु गुर ध्याए गुरु गुर ध्याए गुर पूरे राखिया दे हाथ प्रगट पया जन का परताप गुर पूरे राखिया हाथ गुर पूरे राखिया दे हाथ प्रगट पया जन का परताप जपो गुर पूरे राखिया दे हाथ प्रगट पया जन का परताप की अरदास गुरु पे पाए जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए गुर जपे गुरु गुर गुरु गुर त्याए जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर ध्याए गुर गुर जपी गुरु सरन परे साचे गुरदेव पूरन होई सेवक सेव शरण परे पूरन होई सेवक सेव जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए जी की अरदास गुरु पे पाए गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर ध्याए गुर गुर जपी गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर ध्याए गुर
ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਪੈ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਏ ਗੁਰੂ ਪੈ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਏ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਜੀਉ ਪਿੰਡ ਜੋ ਬਨ ਰਾਖੈ ਪ੍ਰਾਣ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਕੋ ਕੁਰਬਾਨ ਜੀਉ ਪਿੰਡ ਜੋਬਨ ਰਾਖੈ ਪ੍ਰਾਣ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਕੋ ਕੁਰਬਾਨ ਜੀਉ ਪਿੰਡ ਸੁਣੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਸੁਆਮੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਰਬ ਕਲਾ ਬਣਾਈ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਪਈ ਸਗਲੇ ਜੁਗ ਅੰਤਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਕੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਈ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਏ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਗੁਰੂ ਪੈ ਪਾਏ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਗੁਰੂ ਪੈ ਪਾਏ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਏ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਗੁਰੂ ਪੈ ਪਾਏ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਏ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਗੁਰ ਜਪੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰ ਧਿਆਏ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਜਪੋ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਜੀ ਜੀ ਕੀ अरदास गुरु पै पाए जी की अरदास गुरु गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर ध्याए गुर गुर जपी गुरु गुर ध्याए गुर गुर जपी संजोग पवन गुरु बाणी पिता माता तरत महाता निवसरात कोयदाई सगल काफर लगी आया बोले आया आया धर्म नूर कन्या बोआ नाम ते आया सकत काल जी नाम ते आया सकत काल वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह। सत श्री अकाल।